All right, so there's been a lot of talk lately about suicide dives and topes and top rope stuff because we're seeing some wrestlers either getting injured or getting very, very, very near misses from some of these moves. And the discussion is largely around whether or not it's worth it to try these things on such a common basis and whether there's lasting impact of it. So we're going to go through a couple quick examples here of some of the more nasty ones that have cropped up recently or some of the ones that have led to injuries. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. So the first example, this is probably going to be pretty obvious to a lot of you. This is Io Sky, and I don't watch WWE regularly. I can't even say I've watched a WWE show since probably 2019. But I know who Io Sky is. I've seen her work in other promotions, and I think she was just breaking into NXT when I was still watching. So I know who she is. I know she's a very capable, very solid wrestler, and she does a lot of exceptional stuff. This is not one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we're going to see what happens, okay?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So yeah, if we can run this back here. So I think you see what I'm getting at. There's an obvious moment right about there. Now, I mean, what is there to say about this landing? Okay. This is literally worst case scenario. This is the kind of thing that you look at and you go, holy shit, is wrestling really worth it, right? So, we go back up here and let's see if we can't figure out what happened, okay, as we rewind a little bit here. So you can see what happens here is that Io is clearly going for the dive, and watch, right about here, you can see that her leg starts to make contact with the rope as she starts to go through, and you can see that contact right there becomes enough to create enough friction to change the angle on the dive here, and it results in, viewer discretion time, a very horrible directly on the neck and shoulders land. I mean, look at this angle. You are not meant to do this, right? And the result of this dive pretty much entirely has not been about the quality of this match. It's not been about how it's played off on storylines or what it's done for the program. The discussion is largely, what are we thinking here? Like, this is a move that goes right 99% of the time, but look at this 1%. Like, this is awful, right? Like, no wrestling fan wants to see this. This is the kind of thing that makes you tense up and you start to worry about wrestlers' health, because there's nothing more important for these guys than their health. Not just in the ring, not just like, how are they healthy enough to do Mania? Are they healthy enough to do All In? We're talking about, after wrestling health. We're talking about these guys being able to live nice, comfortable lives, or as comfortable as can be expected. This is the antithesis of that desire when things like this happen. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not me knocking Io Sky. I have so much respect for all the people in the wrestling industry who do this kind of shit, because this is the stuff that normal people are not built to do. Right? Normal people can't pull this shit off the way that these guys do. These guys are exceptionally talented, and they're insane athletes to be even able to try something like this. But, this is the risk. And in a lot of cases, look, you can see here, this is the impact. This is, in a lot of cases, a completely unnecessary risk, because you could do a much safer variant. You could do a baseball slide here, or you could do a tope over the top, and Oscar could stand a little closer maybe, and it's not much better, but it is a little bit safer. Or does every match need this? We're starting to see this in almost every wrestling match I watch with anybody who's even slightly an athlete in context of like they use the top rope or they use the ropes to their advantage. I don't know exactly when this started to be the norm for every match, but I think this spot in specific context here is getting to a point where it's so overdone that what are you actually gaining by executing it? I mean, are you changing a match fundamentally with this? Because I can name on, two hands the number of times where this spot happens in a match and I'm like, that changed the whole match, right? Where that spot changed everything about the match. I can name a million times I've seen it and totally forgot. Wrestling is, as much as it's about wrestling, it's about moments too. These are the ones we want to avoid. So it's just kind of a discussion about whether or not this is really, what we want to be doing. So obviously Io Sky was okay. As far as I know, I think she went on to do a couple matches, after this. But this is the kind of thing, this is why I'm bringing this up, because this is one example of how these things go wrong, and it's just not good for really anybody. But obviously, again, not knocking on her. So we're going to jump over now to a different example from a different company. So this is AEW Dynamite from a couple of weeks ago, and you guys are going to know exactly what this is, I think, when you see what's happening here. But so Penelope Ford, right, she just came back from injury. She had been injured for a long time, and she came back and was put with Megan Bayne and got injured right before the women's tag tournament and has just returned. And the spot you're about to see resulted in Penelope Ford being injured again. And this injury is significant, not just because of, it being an injury, but because of what it might have cost Penelope. So let's take a look at this one.
That was impressive. And the champions find themselves.
So, as you can see, after this was midway through the match. You can see this is the doctor, and Penelope is very clearly, visibly frustrated because she is injured again. I don't remember the exact injury. I know it was one of the ankles. It was, either a broken ankle or, hairline fracture or something like that. But again, I'm not a doctor, and I don't want to put bad info out there. So, let's take a look at this here. So, obviously, this is a top rope diving moonsault to the floor. So, what are we doing? And I don't necessarily mean that as an insult. We have to think about the risk versus the reward here. Look at this positioning, okay? And this is a lot of people, I got to say this, a lot of people were digging on Harley Cameron here for being out of position or not catching her properly. But if you look here, originally, it looks like Penelope Ford is intending to come more towards where Willow Nightingale is. And I think Willow Nightingale was meant to be the one that was going to catch Penelope Ford here. And it looks like Harley is trying to adjust in real time. You can see, and this is why, because you can see here, this looks like Willow is moving less than Harley is to try to complete this. But somewhere along the lines, this doesn't go correctly, and what ends up happening is Penelope Ford is not really caught, and pretty much all of her weight comes right down here on her ankles, and she rolls backwards. So this kind of impact, at face value, doesn't look brutal. Anybody who's ever landed on their feet from a fall knows how bad that can be and how easy it is to break the bones in your feet when you land wrong like that. So immediately here, we know something's wrong. This is just a really poor situation, and I don't know that it's anybody's fault, right? Like, it's not. I don't blame Harley Cameron for this. If I'm going to blame anybody, in a way, it's Penelope Ford, because you're saying to yourself, you just got back from an injury that you were off for over a year, and then you were just injured, and you missed an opportunity to be in the first ever women's tag team tournament. And you're finally healthy, and you're about to win, because let me put some context on this. These two here, if you're not watching AEW, were at the time your women's tag team champions, Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron. This match was, I can't remember if this was a title match or to set up a title match. I'm pretty sure it was a title match where Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne were going to win the tag titles. And now, because you're injured, they actually had to call an audible on this match, and Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale retained the tag titles, which then eventually led to them dropping the belts to a new team of Megan Bayne and Lena Cross, who, if you want to talk purely from an aesthetic and wrestling perspective, actually might be a better team. But look at Penelope Ford here. We just got back from a 1.5-year-ish injury hiatus. We get injured again right before the first ever women's tag team tournament, so you have to be replaced. And now in the title match, and I know you want this big moment for your title match, but now you have to lose the titles because Megan Bayne can't beat both champions. It doesn't look good for them. You have to lose instead, and now you're injured again, and you've been replaced again, and now your partner and the new partner are the tag team champions. And how many times can this happen to you before somebody says, okay, we can't put you in these moments because injury is going to derail it. We can't put you in these opportunities because if we do, you might get hurt. And, every time we've tried to get you started, something's come up and we've stopped you. Now, Tony Khan seems like a really good dude. I don't think he thinks like that. I think that's, more of an old school mentality. But it's not out of the question if Tony Khan were just to say, hey, look, Lena Cross and Megan Bayne might have outgrown you here. I don't think we're going to put you back with this group. We're going to find something else for you to do. And now, where are you? I mean, you just got to this point where people were going to be ready to potentially take you seriously as a champion, and you've done this, and now you're not champion. And you know that meme of Squidward looking out the window and SpongeBob and Patrick are running outside. Penelope Ford is Squidward now, and Megan Bayne and Lena Cross are running outside the window. And you feel bad for Penelope because she's not doing anything wrong. This isn't like a technique problem. This isn't like she can't wrestle, she's not trained well, she's dangerous. And this isn't, same thing. This isn't like, Harley Cameron doesn't know how to catch people and Willow Nightingale doesn't know how to catch people and these girls don't have chemistry. It's nothing like that. It's just a fluke. It's just, you didn't go at the right time, or you didn't land right, or, somebody just took a step to the right and they're out of position. It's just an accident. They say it all the time. It's not ballet. But this is what happens sometimes. And you got to wonder, again, you wanted a big moment for your tag match, for your tag title win. Was it worth it? Because now you don't have the tag title win, and you don't have, you might not have your spot when you get healthy. And there's nothing worse than, if I'm correct about that theory, looking back on this in, 5 years and going, I was this close to really having a moment because, I only started watching AEW full time in about March of 2021. So I don't know if Penelope Ford, had titles before that, but to my recollection, Penelope Ford has never had a main roster title in AEW, and this would have been her first one, and now the opportunity's not there. Of course, you could save it. I don't know what they're going to do with her when she comes back, and there may be something, and she may come back with there's a motivation, and people get behind it. So, wrestling's funny like that. You never know. But right now, if you're Penelope Ford up here, you're thinking to yourself, was that really the best idea? Like, should I really, is the risk worth the reward? Or in this context, is the risk worth the consequence? And, that's what we got to start talking about with some of this. And, this probably is to some extent sounding like me coming off telling these guys how to work. Absolutely not. If these guys want to take this risk every time, they're more than welcome to do it. It's their profession. I'm an observer and a critic to an extent, but like a constructive one. I'm not trying to dog on these guys. I want these guys and girls to be able to be as healthy for as long as possible and wrestle for as long as they're, desiring to wrestle, and for their post-wrestling life to be as comfortable as it can be. And when I see this kind of stuff, it breaks my heart, because I feel bad for these people. I feel bad for these guys who go through this and have these things happen to them. And when an unnecessary risk like this gets in between you and your success, like, that sucks. They say no risk, no reward, but no, this is one of those, like, is this literally, in this case, the hill you want to die on? So I don't know. I think you can achieve the same level of big match feel without this exact spot, and you'd probably be better off. Now, the last example I want to take a look at is again from a different company. So I'm trying to show that this is a wrestling thing. I'm not picking on any one company in particular. But why I chose this one is specifically for the discussion about memorability and whether these spots actually elevate matches. So for this last one, we're going to Reddit. And this was posted to the wrestling subreddit, which about 3 days ago, which is not a subreddit that I typically frequent, but Reddit these days likes to stick content from subs similar to subs that you visit. And, you know, with that context in mind, it brought me here, and the title is Leon's, well, if this pop-up would go away, Leon Slater with a crazy dive at the recent TNA pay-per-view. Now, you guys know probably TNA Rebellion was a couple weeks ago. Now, from this thumbnail, you could probably guess what my problem here is. So this is an Ultimate X match, I believe. I did not watch, TNA Rebellion. I really haven't watched TNA since they kind of got into bed with WWE. I watched a bit of their TV debut on AMC, and I turned it off after about 40 minutes because I just thought there was really nothing for me. But, so, for those of you who don't know, again, this guy up here is Leon Slater. Leon Slater is TNA's probably hottest blue chip prospect right now. He is the closest thing they probably have to somebody like Will Ospreay or, someone of that ilk in terms of someone who just captivates a crowd and is able to do some crazy stuff. And I praise Leon for the athleticism that you're about to see. But you also need to pay attention to this lovely gaggle of gentlemen down here. Because as you can probably expect, Leon is about to end up right here on all of them. I was dangerously close to drawing something very stupid here. So let's let this one play through and let's see if what you think is going to happen is in fact what happens. Oh, the audio. Let me turn that on.
Leon, stop. That's well over 15 feet in the air. If not higher, Slater is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, did you see it? Because Moose fucking saw it. Moose absolutely saw what just happened. AJ Francis, I believe here, he fucking saw it. There's no way he didn't see it, right? So, here we are at the top of the Ultimate X structure. And so, great form here. Really great form on this senton. 450 senton, if I'm not mistaken. The form isn't really the problem, though. The problem is nobody, and I mean nobody, catches Leon Slater. And Leon Slater hits the floor like a bag of concrete falling out of a high rise. So let's watch that one more time just to see the impact here and without the pause that I did by accident. Now, it might look like for a brief second that, they got him. They got him. This is somebody's arm and shoulder and nothing else catches Leon Slater. Not a thing, because Leon Slater is the first thing to hit the ground. And then everybody falls down. That is the opposite of how that's supposed to go. And it's bad because Moose literally breaks character to say, oh fuck, are you all right? And you could see him checking on him, and then here come the refs to do their job. And this is bad for several reasons. The first is, look, I know these guys are trying to make moments and things that'll go on TNA archives and be legendary moments for their companies and things, especially when we look at TNA. TNA puts this stuff on YouTube for free within a few months of it airing, usually. So people are going to say, oh, did you see the Leon Slater spot? No? Oh, well, you can go watch it on YouTube for free. So, this is one of those situations where what are we doing? Because yeah, Ultimate X match, you expect some stuff. AJ Styles and the Ilk back in the day really made that match matter with some of the high stuff they were doing, but it was a lot safer than this to an extent. There was a few exceptions, of course, but so what are we doing? We're on the top of the Ultimate X, and first of all, I want to talk about this spot here where guys will stand around and wait. Now, I know, this is a TV, believe it or not, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, this always felt like a TV spot more than a house spot, because the real angle you should be filming this is this one right here. Okay? This one, you are absolutely fucking up Leon Slater with this camera angle, because we don't really want to see this. Okay? Seeing this down here means that, we're breaking the fourth wall in a certain type of way, because this is, TV magic happening down here. You're not supposed to see guys all standing together, huddling up, and oh wait, we got to be in position for them, right? We all know that's how it works, but you don't want to necessarily see that on TV. This angle is perfect because all you see, the focus is on Leon Slater. He's about to do some shit, but you don't know what that shit is because you can't see it. And then when you come down to this camera angle and you can see everybody, it's a big moment because now everybody shows up. And it is for the house too, because obviously Leon Slater's about to jump, and these people over here maybe can't see this gaggle of menagerous men down here getting ready to catch Leon. I mean, these guys obviously can, but it's one of those things. Okay, so this spot, we need to find either a more clever way to do this, in my opinion, or we need to not do this. Again, I'm not trying to tell professionals how to do their job. If they want to do this, okay, I'm not going to turn off your show because you did this. I might turn off your show because you did this. I might not turn off the show for this. But here's the thing. People ask all the time if these moments are memorable. And, you can go through this thread and there's lots of people talking about, oh yeah, what an awesome moment. That was sick. My God, he's broken in half, right? Let's look at the title one more time. Leon Slater with a crazy dive at recent TNA pay-per-view. Why am I highlighting recent? Because this, as this person correctly points it out, is from last year. This is last year's TNA Rebellion. Recent years. This didn't happen at the recent TNA Rebellion. This was from last year. Evidence of this. Okay? One of the gentlemen supposed to catch Leon Slater is Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona does not currently work for TNA. He is back full-time with WWE, hanging out with his wife, who's probably a better wrestler than he is. Matt Cardona hasn't worked for TNA for a hot minute. So what does that say when we're posting stuff with recent TNA pay-per-view, and it was over a year ago? It was over a year ago. So this memorable, huge spot that was going to change the Ultimate X match was completely forgotten by half the people who saw it. So again, why? Especially if we're not even going to go we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 or 6 people, and not one of them was able to catch the guy who is supposed to be the guy in a couple years in TNA. Here's our top prospect. Here's our guy. Here he is jumping off probably a 15, 20 foot fall. Make sure you don't catch him. Oh, fuck. We didn't catch him. And whatever you do, don't roll on your stomach and get close to his ear and say, "Oh shit, are you okay?" Make sure you sit up like the Undertaker with diarrhea and say, "Oh fuck," right in front of the camera, "Are you okay?" to Leon Slater. Because you done whoopsed pretty bad, Moose. You done whoopsed pretty bad. So what am I saying when we talk about this, okay? I want wrestlers to be healthy. I want wrestlers to be around. I want wrestlers to not have to miss time because of stuff like that. Now, are there plenty of typical everyday things that get wrestlers injured? Abso-fucking-lutely. You know, what's his new name in AEW? Jake something. He tore his bicep on a pretty standard like apron move. And I felt so bad for him because he was literally just getting some momentum with Mark Davis in that tag team with Don Callis. You know, you go all the way back to like Triple H doing a very simple, like, I'm going to run in and break up the walls of Jericho, and he tears his quad off the bone, right? You know, that kind of stuff happens from time to time. There's no doubt about it. It's not ballet. But in terms of, you know, potential risks, you know, like those things like Jake something tearing his bicep or Triple H tearing his quad or Kevin Nash tearing his quad or Kevin Nash tearing his quad or Kevin Nash tearing his quad, you know, all those things are driving 35 miles an hour and having a fender bender. It can happen. This kind of stuff,
Dear God. Leon, stop.
This is
15 feet in the air. If not
the
higher.
wrestling example of driving 100 miles an hour in the wrong lane, and you look through the windshield and this is what you see right here. Okay. I don't want wrestlers driving 100 miles an hour in the wrong lane for something that people are not going to remember. Right? Professionals, they are free to do as they see fit. If they think a match needs this, if they think a match needs color, if they think a match needs thumbtacks, if they think a match needs exploding sprinkler barbed wire, if they think a match needs, you know, and whatever they think a match needs, they're professionals. They know way more about this than I ever have known or ever will known. Leon Slater's probably forgotten more about wrestling than I've ever known, right? And that's why I respect all these guys who I'm teasing, but I respect all these guys because of what they do. And I want them to be 60 years old and still with us. And, you know, like when I hear the stories of Kurt Angle talking to Chris Van Vliet and he's saying things like, there are days where I can't feel my fingers. There are days where I can't feel my legs. There are days where, you know, I can't get up and I lay in bed. And I think about the fact that he was wrestling with a broken freaking neck, but it wasn't a meme, you know, and he was taking so many painkillers a day that he could have probably killed a small horse. I don't love that. That's not why I like wrestling. I don't want that to be what happens to wrestlers. And when I see stuff like this, it just upsets me because I want these guys to have nice, happy, long lives. Now, grown adults, they are free to decide what they want to do. If they want to, you know, burn themselves out by 40, okay, that's your life, man. You can do whatever you want. I'm just asking for, hey, if we're going to do this kind of stuff, let's really make it matter, you know? Let's make this Kurt Angle doing the moonsault off the cage. Let's make this, you know that famous, you can tell I like Kurt Angle, but you remember that famous TNA Kurt Angle dive off the stage onto Abyss? Looked fucking great. Not super high risk. Memorable as fuck, right? That's, you know, the kind of thing where, okay, if you pull it off once, people are going to fucking remember it. If you do it every week, you're more likely to end up like this than you are in the Hall of Fame. It's just food for thought. It's just food for thought. Everybody is entitled to their own wrestling opinions. Nobody is required to agree with me. Nobody is required to subscribe to my philosophy on wrestling. This is just my take. And it's a take based, it's coming from a place of love. It is a take from love because I love this. I hate this. This fills me with anxiety. This fills me with dread. This is not good for anything in wrestling. And the less opportunity we have for that to be what happens, I think the better off we all are. So, if you like this, I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end of this. I would really love to get this channel off the ground. You know, this is one of the first things I'm going to be putting up here that isn't, you know, like a little short to test the waters kind of thing. I want to do more reviews like this. I also am thinking of doing, you know, maybe about better topics, like more positive stuff, because I'm really not a wrestling hater. I almost hate this is my first video up here, but if I didn't make something, I wasn't going to make anything. You know that feeling like when productivity you just get in front of yourself and you can't make anything. If I didn't make a video, I wasn't going to start. So this is it. So if you like this, you know, I do want to talk about some happier stuff and you know, like more positive things because I like being the positive wrestling guy. Please feel free to drop a subscription on the channel. That way I know you saw this, and feel free to leave a comment. Don't be a douche, you know? Like, don't come in my comments being an ass, because I'll probably just delete them because I don't have time for that. But let's talk about wrestling, right? I'm Jay, by the way. I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Jay Zombie. You might have seen my gaming channel. If not, feel free to go check that out too. But until then, guys, thank you for watching my take on this kind of stuff, and hopefully, you know, we can maybe rethink a little bit about this and decide, you know, maybe to save these for bigger matches or bigger moments, or choose different ones that are maybe a little safer. But until then, take care, guys. Enjoy wrestling, support wrestlers, and have yourselves a good night.